The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting group. Access Fort Wayne is a department of the Allen County Public Library. If you or anyone you know might be interested in making a television show, please call 260-421-1250.
Welcome to the Mind, Body, Spirit Show. This is going to be very interesting, especially since I'm broadcasting from Central Park, where I grew up as a child. Look at the background. Okay. Today will be about health and exercise, but and wellness in general. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. Isn't that very interesting? So where does our energy come from? It comes from the sun. The electrical energy from the electromagnetic energy from the sun, which then through photosynthesis hits the leaf of the plants or the tree, and then through taking up carbon dioxide from the air and water from the ground, then makes glucose and a little bit of fat. Good fats, omega-3 fats, but it's mainly sugar. And then us or the animal eat the plant, and then we may eat the animal or we may eat the plant. And then it recycles through the earth at the end of time, so the energy is not created nor destroyed. We have our macronutrients that we take in, our carbohydrates, the complex sugars and sugar, protein that builds our muscles and our bones, and fat, which has a lot of energy in it, and water. Those are our macronutrients, and we need them for energy. We metabolize them. And then we have the micronutrients, which run the machinery of our body. They have no calories, vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals. They run the rainbow, the machinery of our body, and we need them. If we don't eat them, we have difficulty creating energy, and we're not healthy. So let's review a little bit the energy of exercise. An 80-kilo person, okay, has in them about 500 grams of glycogen. That's a complex sugar, okay? We have about 100 grams in the liver, and we have about 400 grams in our muscles, okay? So 1 gram equals 4 kilocalories of energy. I mean, that's all we really have in terms of sugar and carbohydrates. You can see that we could deplete that pretty quickly. Okay, if you were to run 20 miles, you might use all of it up. Depends on the condition that you're in. 1,500 to 2,000 kilocalories I used up in a 20-mile run, and before the 20 miles are up, you might frankly bonk and from accumulation of lactate, and it's difficult to continue. This is the interesting thing, okay? I'm going to tell you about sugar. The chemical formula is C6H12O6. So not a lot of energy in there. Fat, let me tell you about fat, okay? C57H110O6. There's so much more energy in a molecule of fat than sugar. A lot of people don't really realize that. So if you're running a triathlon, you like to get into fat metabolism because there's so much more energy there, okay? 90% of our fat is subcutaneous, but if you're way overweight, for example, a lot of it can be in the liver, in the mesentery of the gut, in the kidneys, in the pancreas, in the spleen. So fat can be everywhere. Body fat of a male usually is about 15%. A female is about 25%. So there is differences among the sexes. So fat is high energy source, full of energy, but the source is slower. Glucose is like that. Fat metabolism is something that takes a little time to get into. How is energy created? The fat, the glucose, the protein, all can be broken down into energy, but glucose is the quick source, and it comes down to pyruvate, and then it enters the Krebs cycle or citric acid, and every spot a little bit of electrical energy is released. Adenosine triphosphate, adenosine biphosphate, that's the energy that is established. The Krebs cycle was discovered by Dr. Krebs, has been along for many years. A very complex formula, which you can look up in a book. And then eventually the energy gets to the mitochondria. The mitochondria are small little vesicles that are located in our cells, thousands. Heart muscle has in it many more thousands. Skin, a little less. So it varies which muscle that you're speaking about, but they run the metabolism of energy. They're little factors. Mitochondria, they are called. So again, the energy from exercise comes from the sun to the chlorophyll. You either eat the plant or the animal eats the plant and you eat the animal, okay? Protein make up the muscles that we use for exercise. Very little is broken down to give us the energy. But an extreme athlete, because he tears down his muscles, some might double his protein intake. Otherwise, we'd be eating about 0.6, 0.7 grams per kilo. Supplements, actually, contrary to what athletes are thinking, they're taking a lot of supplements. They just get metabolized. They don't. If you're going to build big muscles, it's not from supplements. It's from doing the exercise. And it's a lot easier if you're young. Testosterone, the hormone, builds our muscles much quicker. As we get a day older, like myself, it is very difficult to build up muscle mass no matter what we do. But we can make them strong, but to bulk them up, it's extremely hard to do as each year goes on, okay? So a lot of people are taking whey or casein, the proteins from milk. They have little value. People are just wasting their money. And they have side effects. Casein is the most carcinogenic chemical in the world. It causes cancer. So there's risk involved, okay? And you say, well, where'd I get my protein? Plenty of protein in vegetables. Yeah, broccoli, 30% protein. Yeah. And so vegetables are full of them. Nuts have some proteins in them. Broccoli, nuts, eggs, full of protein. Meat is actually very acidic and causes osteoporosis. So to eat meat because I need big muscles, protein, that's really not necessary, but it has other side effects. So to eat meat 7 days a week from a health standpoint is not a good idea. And you feel I need the protein because I'm a big time athlete, there are plenty of total plant eaters who have huge muscles. They work out, they stretch, and they get their protein from vegetables. A lot of them out there, Olympic athletes, okay? regular exercise does increase muscle strength. And as we get a day older, we get what's called sarcopenia, where our muscles deteriorate about 5% every 10 years. So especially as we get a day older, exercise becomes important. Being a couch potato at any age is not of great value, but especially as we get a day older. We lose about 3 pounds of muscle per decade. So to do some repetitive mild weight training has some value. Not the big old weights. I'm talking about 5, 10 pounds. And if you feel like I need more, then repeat it a lot. I used to work out with 20, 25-pound weights, and I get a lot of shoulder pain. When I stopped that, instead, I went to lesser weights, like 10 or 5 pounds, and repeated them. Instead of 10, I did 20 or 30, and have kept good muscle strength. Besides, I play tennis and pickleball, so those are other things that help. You always have to watch out for pain. If you develop pain, back off a little bit, because it can get out of hand. So you can increase the speed of what you're doing to increase muscles. Walking is a great thing to do. And jumping rope. Before I play tennis, I always jump rope. Has value, but you got to be steady enough to do that, and I don't recommend it unless you feel that and your doctors approve it, you feel you won't trip or fall. But I'm so used to doing it now that I'd not become a trickster about it, which some are. I often wonder about going to the Y, because they have some of their teachers to learn different methods of rope jumping, which would be a lot of fun. But I don't suggest that to you, because you can trip and take a fall and you break a leg or an arm. Believe me, that's put you out of commission for a few months, so I don't recommend it. As we get a day older, too, we get gravipause. You know, if you heard of menopause, we also get gravipause, where everything in life, everything we do is affected by gravity. We are indeed gravity. So we stop doing things and our muscles don't feel gravity, they go away. So to build them up, we need to apply some gravity to them. That's why yoga, for example, is excellent. You're not having to lift anything or repeat it many times. You just hold a certain posture and you say, how can I possibly build my muscles doing that? You know the answer already. Gravity is pulling on my bones, my joints, and my muscles. Some of those beautiful people that I've ever seen, I saw one at St. Martin, the island. I get up at 7 in the morning, I'd taken a walk, and there's this guy all curled up in a yoga posture, holds it for a number of minutes, and he has a beautiful body, beautiful muscles, well-toned. So I saw him in the pool later, and I talked to him and find out he was an airline pilot flying from Denver to Costa Rica. That was his job. 3 times a week he did that, became way overweight, developed diabetes, and then he decided to do something about it. He started eating right, and he started doing yoga. Now he looks like a movie star. It's called biomathematics. If you eat good food, symmetry is established in your body. That's a well-known fact. There are many pictures of people who, looking in the mirror, didn't feel they looked that attractive. That was their opinion. This is a judgment-free zone. But once they ate the right food and exercise, they look like movie stars. Yeah, there's mathematics in the correct food, okay? So we all need to do some exercise. Most of in today's society has developed sitting disease. We're sitting at our desk working for hours at a time, and they have discovered now that if you sit for 2 hours, it turns off the triglyceride and sugar and the fat metabolism enzyme, and they say it's like smoking a pack of cigarettes. If you sit for 2 hours, you smoked in essence, a pack and a half of cigarettes, and the effects throughout your whole body are not good. And realize America is having a real problem with this. But looking at sitting disease, though, let's talk about calorie burn for a minute. You know, if this is your total calorie burn for the day, calories that you burn every day, okay, about 40% is the activities of living that provide the energy for your heart, your brain, your lungs, your muscles, doing nothing. Okay? Okay? That's about 40% of what burns your calories, doing nothing. Now, if you're a bigger guy, you're going to burn more calories that way because you're bigger. Your bones are bigger, your muscles are bigger, everything's bigger, you're going to burn more calories. That's 40%. Then we have the thermic effect of food, which is about 15-20%. It depends what food you eat, okay? You're eating mainly fat, only about 3-5% use up metabolism. You're eating a lot of fiber-dense vegetables, for example, you're going to lose a lot of the calories because they're tied up in polysaccharides. They can't be digested. You remove them in the stool. So if you eat 1,000 calories of that, maybe your body gets maybe 700 or so. You see the difference? And protein, you lose about 15% in metabolizing the protein. So you do lose some calories in the thermic effect of food. Then we have what I call AOL, activity of living. How many calories are you burning in your activity of living to be healthy? If you are standing up, for example, every time your phone rings, you triple your calorie burn versus sitting. There's 5 calories a minute versus standing. It's about triple that, okay? If you walk the dog in the morning, for example, or if you park your car far away, for example, you're increasing your activity of living. Are you riding a bike? Are you playing tennis? I include the sports activities into the activity of living. So that's 30-40%. So without even exercising, okay? If you can increase your activity of living, for example, stand up doing the dishes, taking a walk in nature in the morning with the dog in the evening, playing some tennis or just taking a walk, for example, you'll burn quite a few calories. So if you, for example, want to lose some weight, if you increase your activity of living without going to a gym, you're going to burn a bunch of calories. If you burn, say, 200 calories extra a day, multiply that into 365 days a year, you lost 20 pounds. Wow, without changing your diet or anything, yeah. In terms of the reason I did not have a separate category for going to a gym is that most people don't. I encourage you to go to a workout place, okay? But like Planet Fitness or Spaces, both of which I've gone to, belong to, most people who say they go, only 3.5% of the people exercise regularly. I checked it at Planet Fitness, 50,000 members, one store. And I asked them, what percent of those people come in every week? 10%. Now they're a select group to go there in the first place. So it comes down to 3.5. Isn't that interesting? So to increase your health, to increase your activity of living, you'll have more calorie burn, you'll be healthier, you'll lose some weight. Goodbye, diabetes, okay? What about water? How much water should be taken in? About 53% of our body is water. Yeah, 50% of me is water. Yeah, that's true. So in terms of exercise, they recommend in sports that you hydrate, drink water before you exercise and during the exercise, because you can't drink enough before you lose that much in exercise. Extreme sports, especially triathlons, things like that, things that go over days or hours, very important, okay? And if you take drinking a carbohydrate drink, then about 6% carbohydrates, gels, but drink some water every hour or you'll get behind, and then you get electrolyte imbalance, you'll hit what's called the bonks. Too much lactate, you'll have pain, you need to discontinue. So sweating will cause some mineral loss too, some sodium, some potassium, but generally they don't recommend replacing those in a great amount because they can't predict what that would do. It's water is the one that really counts. Normally, we take in about 1,200 cc of water a day, normally. But when we're exercising, it can be 5 or 6 times as much. So water replacement is very important. After you're done exercising, like I play tennis tournaments, for example, I weigh myself sometimes. The next day, I lost 10 pounds. What the heck happened? I didn't burn up that much energy. It was water loss, okay? And we generally lose about 450 ml of water actually. Replace 50 calories an hour, about, say, after exercise, okay? Replace about 50 calories an hour, so you keep on eating a little bit, okay? And about 500 grams over 24 hours, and usually come back to normal weight. And you'll be rehydrating if you drink some water. You'll find out your weight loss for that race is maybe a half a pound, maybe a pound, not the 10, which I recorded. And so replace water with some carbohydrates, maybe a gel in a water bottle, when heavy exercising. Now, when you're swimming, part of a triathlon, it's difficult to carry anything. So drink the water before you get in there, and then get rid of the bottle because you don't want it on you. When you're swimming, it'll really slow you down. Actually, in real heavy exercise, they recommend 250 ml every 15 minutes. Yeah. And but again, you got to go on your own experience, your training, your coach, and it's difficult. So let's talk about a little bit about the most effective training. Incidentally, if you're running a race, first you're anaerobic. It's not oxygen burning, but that lasts only half a minute or a minute, and the energy comes from phosphates, which are already in your muscles that generate energy. Okay, you don't need anything else from an electron transport system, but you can use the own phosphate in the muscle. But quickly, you'll go into aerobic glycolysis, breaking down of sugars, and then eventually fat metabolism starts and slowly revs up. Remember I told you, fat in your body, about 40,000 calories of fat versus 2,000 of carbohydrates. So the sooner you get into fat metabolism, the better. And after you're done with a marathon and now you got to get a jump on a bike, you try to get into fat metabolism, aerobic fat metabolism, if you can. We spoke about the daily components of energy expenditure. We told you about the resting metabolic rate, the BMR, thermic effect of food, and the AOL, sort of the percentages that you have. Incidentally, if you're exercising to lose weight, what will happen after a while, you drop 50 pounds, and your body will say, that person's trying to starve themselves. And the body, through 50 hormones, will drop your basic metabolic rate, okay? So now you got to eat less. Otherwise, you're going to have tremendous weight gain because your basic daily calorie burn went down. Gets real tricky, okay? You're eating less because you're not as big. You lost weight. You lost, say, 50 pounds. So you eat less to maintain it. Then your BMR dropped. Do you see what I mean? So it gets very tricky. If you want to lose your weight through exercise, a lot better way, exercise is important, is to eat the right food. That's even more important. And here's an interesting one. High intermittent intensity training. In other words, fast, slow, fast, slow. And what I like is I found if I'm running, that's a lot of pounding of the body on the pavement, and aches and pains will start. That's not for everyone, obviously, okay? We want runners. but I say that most of us watching the show, most of us getting a day on, I'm not in love with this pounding. What I would rather have you do, and which I have developed for myself, a system which works very good, is to use walking, a slow, medium, fast walking. And I've been using, you develop your own formula, okay? But I've been using, I do it outside and I do it at species, is that I will walk about 10 seconds, and I use my right foot. Every time the right foot hits, that's 1 second, okay? So I do 10 of that. Then I do 20, again, paying attention to the right foot. Don't forget to breathe while you're doing that, because you may just hold your breath. You don't want that, okay? I do 20, always counting the right step. So I had 10, walking regularly, 20, a little bit faster, and then I do 30 as fast as I can do it. So I'm 10, 20, 30, okay? Total of 60 steps. Now I found I could take the last one, number 3, and extend it significantly, and after a while you condition, and maybe do in the beginning 3 to 5 repeats of that, okay? So 10 seconds, 20 seconds, another 30 seconds, and then I'm back to 10 seconds, and now 20 seconds, and always the right foot hitting is a second, okay? I don't know if that's exactly right, but that's what I've been doing. So it's really 2 steps, but maybe it is a second, maybe actually a little less. But then you can play with that. You might go 20, 40, 60, 100, and generally the steps in training is 160. That's sort of the magic steps no matter what you do, okay? And then I've worked it up to 5 repeats of that. I think probably I can do more, but you develop your own thing. What happens is, as your heart rate goes up and down like that, mitochondria, your energy factories, start building and multiplying. A great way to extend what's called the VO2 max, the amount of energy that you have before you become exhausted. But this slow, medium, fast, to me is good. And there's a book also written by the Run Walk Method here by a very famous author. But where they're running, I'm not that hot that I want you running. Okay, and maybe some of you do, so check with your doctor, make sure you can do that. It's a book by Jeff Galloway. He's very famous website, and good to read. And what he's doing is that just to run a marathon, actually, if you run, walk it, and learn in the method with that, you're faster. He proved it. Yeah, instead of a straight run, you run, walk. That's faster, and he proved that. So it's based on the physiology of your body. But that's not where I'm promoting necessarily. I like this walk a little faster, and then as fast as you can, just for a few seconds, and slow down. Make sure your doctor okays that you do it. And like I said, it's called high intensity intermittent training, and the other ways called SIT, sit, sprint interval training. It's called a Bannister method, and he would do 4 to 7 sessions every 2 weeks, 1 to 2 days of rest in between. I would say with the method I described to you that I do, you can do it every day. It doesn't do that much to your body, but the Bannister method is 1 minute of sprint, 1 minute of recovery. That's just for advanced runners, okay? But there are other ways to do this: stair steps, treadmill method. The VO2 max, is a test that the doctor gives you, puts you on the treadmill, they measure the EKG, they increase the height of what you're walking on every 30 seconds to a minute, every 2 minutes. And they measure your VO2 max, your maximum oxygen consumption in that time. And you like to be around 10 at least if you can. I think mine is 12. But it's to build stamina in the heart. The heart has many more mitochondria than any other part of your body. Most of us are exercising some to get fat out of our body. So burn the fat, feed the muscle, okay? Say it, I'm a bodybuilder, visualize it, okay? I'm a body sculptor, visualize it. I'm a body fitness athlete, I'm a body strength athlete. If you visualize that, it's more likely to happen. And there's a great book called Mental Training for Peak Performance by Stephen Ungerleider, PhD. He must be a German like me, okay? A very good book to read, a very good book to read. And what he's speaking a lot about, which I totally believe in, is visualization. In other words, if you're trying to achieve a certain goal, like I want to get rid of my diabetes and I got to get rid of 25 pounds, go to the mirror, take your clothes up, and visualize you being of a normal configuration with good muscles and the body that you want, and visualize yourself every chance you get, once a day, or at least every few days. It's more likely to happen. So visualization, visualizing the goal, the way, is a good way for an athlete to perform. The Olympic athletes, around 1939 or so, that were going to participate in the German Olympics, while they're on this 2-week trip on a boat, needed to exercise. Some, while they're getting seasick and everything else. There was one gentleman who turned out to be the champion of it all. It was a black gentleman whose name I don't remember at the moment, who all he ever did is sit in the corner and visualized the decathlon, everything that he was going to have to do. He did not participate with the rest of the guys, what they were doing to work out, because they were seasick and one thing or another. And you know what? He won every event he was in. Yeah. He made the U.S. himself look really good. It was through visualization. So before I go play pickleball or tennis to try to improve my game, I took some more lessons recently. I'm just trying to get better. I'm not going to be the world champ, but that's just the way I am. I visualize what I'm going to do. And if you visualize something, it's more likely to happen. So visualizing, like the great golfers, if you read their books, you know what they do? Before they step up to hit the ball, they don't think about how they're going to hit the ball. They think about where the ball is going to land and the trajectory. They're visualizing what's going to happen. And there's enough muscle memory in their body that makes it happen. So I strongly recommend visualization for peak performance. So every time I go up to serve a ball, now in playing tennis, because I've read this material and I've done it, I've visualized what I'm going to do, and the odds go up, and I don't have to think. I don't get stressed out. It reduces tension. It gets rid of nervousness because I'm busy visualizing what I'm going to do. A great piece of advice, and I suggest strongly that you use it. So best fitness exercises increase your activity of living because you do it every day. Things that are easy to do: park the car far away, walk the dog, walk through nature, sing a song like I do in the mornings. Okay, then add to it some high intermittent intensity training. Remember I said the slow fast exercise where you walk a regular pace, then a little faster, and then really fast, just for 30 seconds. But you can lengthen it if you like. I'm just giving you a pattern. I just like to use all three. They can be completely equal, but remember to breathe. It's real easy, like I was bringing my right foot forward. I was so concentrating. I noticed in the beginning, I was paying so much attention to my right foot, I forgot to breathe. I was just holding my breath. Fortunately, it was with my mouth open, so oxygen and CO2 could exchange itself somewhat. But I think that's good advice. So when you get on a scale, it doesn't tell you how much muscle versus fat you have. So there are many methods of measuring it, but a good start is a belly measurement. You got a pot belly, probably a diabetic, and you know you got things to work on. But the other trophies, thin on the outside, but the fat on the inside, fat on the liver, fat on the omentum. So vision isn't the whole story, okay? And you could weigh 110 pounds, but be 30% fat and diabetic. I've seen it. I saw a family recently where I think two had died, two was skinny, one was overweight. The overweight had diabetes. There's two skinny ones never had blood tests. Said, we don't have diabetes. You don't have diabetes till you've had blood tested, glucose tolerance tests, insulin tolerance tests. Then we'll know. Otherwise, because you're thin, you still might have it. So what about nutrition? What it comes right down to, do I say diet? No. Type of food. If you're eating nutrient-dense food, foods of color, you can add mushrooms, onions, they don't have color, but they're healthy. 80% odds are you're going to be healthy. A little bit of meat's okay. Eat meat 7 days a week. You're eating a lot of cancer compounds, very fatty food, things that cause insulin to increase. Increase your activity, so good eating, increase your activity of living. Do a little bit of muscle training if you like. You can use yoga. Don't lift any weights, just do yoga. Maybe learn what's the Sun series. You can look it up, Sun series, on the computer, Google it. Here the positions is out of a yoga book. About 20 of those are there. I have those, you can memorize them. And I hold those positions. It's a book, Yoga, Anatomy of Fitness Yoga by Goldie Carpel-Oren. That's her book. I encourage you to maybe page through that, get in the library like where I'm at, or buy it. And remember, because gravity affects your body, you don't have to lift weights. Just hold the postures. And if you use your mind a little bit, maybe you even want to call it Tai Chi, where you're learning mild mind control through muscle activity. I think it's a stress reducer. I know people who do yoga every day, and I think that's great. We already mentioned sarcopenia, where we lose muscle mass because we're getting a day older. And how do you increase the muscles? So we spoke about it. Stand up, use them, pick up a sport, vibrate and move. Maybe take up tap dancing like I do. I notice I'm a lot more balanced, and I play tennis and pickleball, so my movements are quite pick, even at my young age, 39, for the 44th time. How old am I? Okay, and so we're fighting gravity. Yeah, sarcopenia, we're fighting gravity. And then I have what's called Rudy's plate, about half non-starchy vegetables, okay? Maybe a quarter lean proteins, okay? Maybe not quite as much, but some of the protein could be from plants. Remember I said about broccoli and nuts? They got 30% protein. Proteins don't have to be from meat. And proteins from plants don't have with them chemicals or carcinogens that might harm you. And then another quarter starchy vegetables, for example. Don't forget to drink the water we spoke about, okay? And to eat some fresh fruits are very healthy. Could you overdo it with eating 10 pieces of fruit? Yeah, half of it can be fructose, and that can make fatty liver, but there's so much fiber in there, I think I kind of forget about it. I eat all the fruit you want. So there is some mineral loss in exercise, sodium, potassium, zinc, but usually not a problem if you exercise for 1 hour. 2 to 4 hours can be dangerous and difficult to predict. So to have something in the foods you're eating or what you're drinking, a little bit of electrolyte, but it can be dangerous. Pay attention to your body. If your body is telling you you're thirsty, drink water, okay? And another thing, I read in an exercise book, when you're running a long thing, a race, and and you're really feeling good, that's the time to bring in some nutrition, something that's rapidly metabolized, and some water. If you eat a little bit of food, that can have the electrolytes in there that your body needs. The rest you'll excrete. But your sodium, potassium, chlorides are effective. But again, water is the main problem. Okay, the type of food you're eating is really the key. There are some, so that your metabolic rate depends on the individual, how much training you've done. You may be burning calories quickly, you may be very slow. It depends on your training. If you trained real well, you're going to metabolize more fats. Get into fat metabolism. Remember what I said about fat? Has a lot more energy in it, 40,000 calories, okay? Body stores of glycogen, the sugar, 2,000 calories, that's it. So you'll run out of those quick enough. And most short races, it's not a problem. You're taking a long walk, generally not a problem, okay? So we can have glycogen depletion, and you go into the bile lactate accumulates, and you need to be more in fat metabolism. You can develop fat metabolism when the fat in the muscles, for example, comes out of the muscle because your blood sugar is low. It can be transported with albumin to the liver, and it makes keto fats, Keto fats. You hear about that later. And that can be burned for energy in the brain and in the muscles, but it's a bit slower metabolism, okay? But when people become keto adapted, that can be through training, takes about 2 weeks. What you're taking to the athlete and turning them into a keto athlete, and remember, there's so much more energy in keto. Those athletes can participate in exercise that is much longer, triathlons or days, whatever. So keto training has some value, and that is available. So, and I say to you, which fuel tank do you want to access? The 2,000 calorie glycogen or the 40,000 fat tank? See the point? That's for people involved with sports, and we're speaking about the physiology of sports. But for us leading ordinary life, to be keto is not that important. I wouldn't go to those extremes where you eat too many meat products, but to tend towards keto a little bit, like when you're fasting or you eat at 6 p.m. and don't eat again, say, till 9 a.m., you're in keto metabolism at that point. You are emptying the fat out of your cells. So intermittent fasting, or not eating a half a day, or having a smoothie one day and don't eat the regular meals, for example, there's a little bit of keto maybe. You're burning the fat tank, and you're going to lose some weight. So when we hit the wall, that's glycogen depletion. It's called bonking. Bonking, we've all heard of that. That's the reason for the sports drinks, to get some carbohydrate into us. And it delays bonking, but not beyond a marathon, okay? So to load the glycogen a little bit before a race starts is helpful. To take it maybe a few hours before, 4 or 5 hours before, you can double the amount of glycogen in your body, and you're going to lengthen the length of time that you can exercise on glycogen. Okay? And so insulin, the one that brings sugar into the cell for energy, okay, is the gatekeeper of fat. If you're getting insulin shots because you got diabetes, it's anabolic. It'll make you gain weight. Mm-hmm. Insulin also causes vascular disease. Hardly any vascular disease if you don't have any insulin. They've shown that on autopsies on stage 1 diabetes patients who died from accident or something. They checked their vasculature, no atherosclerosis, because they had no insulin in their body. Isn't that interesting? And so you eat sugar, your insulin level goes up. Okay? And if insulin level goes up, then fat is not getting out of the cells. So when you exercise and you see the point, you take a little bit of sugar, and you overdo it, you shut down the fat source because insulin shuts the cell down. No fat can escape to make keto. So the amount of carbs you're taking in is very critical, and you have to develop your own system from training. So keto adaptation is not immediate. It takes 2 or 3 weeks. And so fat breakdown is half the story. So triglycerides get converted. That's fat molecules with glycerol that carries it around. But they're not water soluble, so they have to be taken by albumin, a protein, and move it to the liver. So ATP in the cell and the mitochondria, they are the energy factory. They make it. So if you can go into keto oxidation, burning fat for energy, remember I said it takes 2 or 3 weeks, but we can do a little bit of that without keto training. For example, we want to go into a fat metabolism even early in a race or walking, so that we're not just burning up all our glycogen. I mean, there's an art and a science to avoiding the bonk. And it's important. Sitting disease, which I already spoke to you about. And we spoke about how can my chair be killing me. It's called the new smoking, okay? We're now Homo sedentarius, we're sitting, versus Homo erectus, walking around. We used to have to chase the animals and the plants, and we were exercising. Now we're sitting down. We have chair addiction. Yeah. We're glued to our chairs. We have islands of isolation. I walk into a business where the whole floor, I can see it at this music place in town. They're all sitting in a chair on their computer trying to sell products all over the world. A wonderful place. But what do they got? They got sitting disease. Yeah. And some of them don't look too healthy. I'm there. I'm taking music lessons. I watch this. And people sitting there 10 at a time look very unhealthy, doing a wonderful thing. Okay? But we have to open our eyes, because they're going to get diabetes, and it's 50 diseases. Diabetes, they list it as the 6th leading cause of death. No, it's number 1. High blood pressure, well, high blood pressure causes diabetes. No, it's diabetes causes high blood pressure. Heart attacks cause diabetes. No, diabetes causes heart attacks. So diabetes is the number 1 leading cause of death. It has 50 diseases associated with it, and they can be prevented. I have a show on Mondays at 6:30. Watch that. I'll show you more about it. So our chairs are getting bigger. Have you noticed? They're getting wider and bigger. Yeah. Some people are sitting 13 hours a day. Then we sleep 8 hours. We move maybe 3 hours. You see the problem? You see the problem? So sitting burns 5 calories an hour. Standing triples it to 15 calories an hour. Walking burns 100 to 150 calories an hour, and running about 200. Okay? So sitting disease is a big thing. And increase overweight, increase diabetes, decrease calorie burn, and we decrease our glucose and fat metabolism by 50%. An enzyme gets turned on and off in the endothelial layer of our blood vessels. 300,000 miles of blood vessels we have. The endothelial layer is the one cell layer thick inside us blood vessels, and the enzymes, which I spoke about, are in there. They get turned on and off depending if we're sitting or we're moving. Okay? So in this country, we got 150 million people that are pre-diabetic or diabetic. Actually, it's been said now that pre-diabetes and diabetes are the same thing. So we have a very unhealthy nation and worldwide. It's a worldwide epidemic. So I'm really, frankly, taking this on to teach people how to stay healthy, because I love you. Let me mention something else about exercise a little bit. Stretching is important, and I encourage you to do it. The Anatomy of Stretching, an excellent book here. Put it in your library. It teaches you how to stretch the muscles of the neck and the arms and the shoulders and your back and the lower extremities. I do some of that every day, 2 or 3 minutes. And when I'm doing the Sun series, 20 things I do for yoga, I'm stretching. That's part of it. And you've all heard of Pilates, which is kind of an interesting story in itself. Joseph Pilates was born in Europe, in Germany actually, and then moved to New York City, and he always had been exercising. And then he brought it to New York, and he taught there from 1926 to 1966, and certain things. And what he's trying to tell you is it's a sense of control of the mind and the body in assuming positions for a period of time. So he uses a combination of control, of flow, that you flow into another posture, of breath, pay attention to your breath, coming in and out, and deep breathing, precision, that you exactly precise of what you're doing, and concentration, and assume certain positions. And I know of somebody in town here who sells cars. He's been doing this probably 30 years. He looks like a movie star. I see him at Starbucks now and then walking by. Hi, Rudy. How you been? And he does Pilates across the street. And so it's a wonderful system, which I also recommend. Okay? And to review a little bit, we spoke about our daily calorie burn. Our BMR, about 40%. The energy it takes to run our brain, our heart, our lungs, our bowel, our muscles. The bigger you are, the more calories you're burning. Okay, but remember, you get a basic set of calories that you are burning. And thermic effect of food, you lose some calories, so it's not calories in, calories out. No, it depends on your BMR, depends on type of food that you're eating. Type of food you're eating is what the answer is, not a diet. Type of food, okay? And then your activity of living. You're a very active person, moving all the time, vibrating all the time. You're burning a lot of calories. A great way to get healthy quickly. And then you're eating the right food, no diet. 70-80% of the time, type 2 diabetes, gone. 3 to 6 weeks. Your blood sugars will drop quickly if you decide to do this. I'm telling you, within a week. Mark Hyman has in his books, it's in my books, very quickly. When you can avoid all these illnesses and disease, I beg you not to be blind to it. I was speaking to a gentleman yesterday whose family has had multiple amputations from diabetes, and he says, Dr. Rudy, I respect diabetes. Well, if you respect it, maybe you're taking your pills, you're a little bit better at it, maybe you'll live a little bit longer, but you still got diabetes. I want you to get rid of it. Get rid of it. 90% of the time, not hard. Not hard. We're speaking about type 2, but type 2, when the pancreas gets sick and tired, secreting insulin, it dies, then you're type 1 and type 2. Now you can take insulin the rest of your life, maybe, maybe not. If you start doing things right, we could turn the clock back. Very clearly can be done. Pancreas isn't totally dead the majority of the time. And you can become healthy again and get rid of it. Okay? Otherwise, what's going to happen here? Amputations, renal transplants, liver transplants, high cost of medication. Okay? So remember, we spoke about the thermic effect of food. the calorie burn energy is different, but different foods, okay? So walking every day has value. Doing the dishes triples the calorie burn. Stairs versus elevator, dancing, tap dancing like I do, okay? Park the car far away, use a treadmill, use a stand-up desk at work. Remember, the more you can get things done at work, the healthier that you're going to be. And you don't have to go home and when you get kids and go to the gym. Before you know it, 3 hours are gone, okay? If you can do it at work, you're getting paid to exercise. You can do it. A treadmill desk, for example, stand-up desks, have weights underneath your table. At lunchtime, like I used to have my typist, for example, at Lutheran Hospital, her and her other typists, every lunch hour, which I gave them off, they would walk the whole hospital. They did it for 20 years. Today, they look great. Not a pill between them, okay? They did it at work. So when they went home, they ate the right food 80% of the time. Very healthy people. I spoke to them recently, very interesting. So the kind of food you want to eat is foods with nutrients, vitamins. So it's a mosaic of interaction of vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, the enzymes that make you look and feel great. Little disease. It's not that hard. I hope through this talk that you have learned about how we take the energy of the sun and convert it to energy for us to lead to a joyful, healthy life. The few seconds I have left, I'll tell you a little bit more about Central Park. I grew up in New York City. I lived 3 blocks from the park you're looking at, that's in back of me. And my dad had a deli down the street. It was right by the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I used to play handball, pickleball, and baseball in the park. I even rode a bike for exercise. A beautiful place. If you're ever in New York, go to the park, walk around the reservoir, and say to yourself, Rudy walked around this reservoir while he's singing songs and whistling at the birds. True story. True story. We love you for watching this show. We'll have many others. And I thank Public Access TV for providing the time. I mean, I have to be so grateful. And I have a half-hour show on Mondays at 6:30 on Strictly Diabetes. The one on Wednesday, well, this will be Comcast 57. It's about different subjects. This one's exercise. The next maybe memory loss or gluten, many different subjects which I go through. You can go to YouTube, Rudy Cashman, pull up 1,000 TV shows, all about hour, half hour long, and gain a lot of knowledge. And the beautiful thing, it's for free. You'll live to be 100. Hopefully, maybe, like me. And if you want to be seen personally, be coached, go to the Three Rivers Pharmacy, 373-1083, I think it is. Sheila Walker, Three Rivers Pharmacy back in Concordia High in the Fireside, where I see people for free on Friday morning, like I did today. And then I had lunch with 2 gentlemen from the students from Purdue University who were interested in a project that might help their community. And guess what? I certainly spoke to them about that because I feel the same way. I think we would have a nice relationship. But this is about knowledge. Teaching children how to cook, for example, might be an excellent way. And if you follow me in books and TV or 95.7 radio, you'll learn a lot about health. I didn't always know that. I just read it. Now I have the knowledge and I share it with you. And thanks so much for watching. If you see me, consider giving me a hug or buying me a cup of coffee. And I'll talk to you. I'll speak to you. And we'll see you next time. And we do this because we care about you. And if you have time, read some of the books. You can go to Amazon Books. I got about 20 books on there. Or watch our TV shows or attend my lectures. Tomorrow, actually, I'm giving the same talk right next to Kosciuszko Community Hospital, where a lady named Dana Gross developed this group of people I speak to. And thanks so much for listening.